Hey,
I just finished something.
gentlemen.
Definitely.
Hey, hey, welcome to Meshery call.
Hi all.
Yeah. Come on. Oh, very good. All right. We'll give it a couple of minutes. Both of our UT grad students, Pranav and Pratik, messaged their regrets earlier today. They've got a paper due by end of day today, so my heart goes out to them. I'm half expecting an Aspen Mesh person or two today. I'll tell you why in a minute. But I'm going to take some additional meeting minutes here while we wait for just a moment. While we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and post a link to the meeting minutes, so feel free to record your attendance.
Oh, Postgres. Okay.
Yes, sir.
At least I work on Postgres, so it's like at least I can know much better than DynamoDB.
Awesome.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, we're 4 after. This might be all who we get today. So we do actually typically have a standing topic, and that is to welcome new members and a request for topics. So let's do that real quick. So Chaim is here. He is not a new member, although I don't know that he's been able to. Chaim, I don't know if you've been able to join the community meeting during the meeting time before.
I joined late.
Oh yeah. Yep, that's right. Okay. Anyway, the point of calling you out, Chaim, is to say meet Pavan. Pavan is on the call. He's also in Austin. Pavan, Chaim is CTO at Octarine. And so, Pavan, do you want to maybe introduce yourself to Chaim and tell him a little bit about your focus? You know what? And you're on mute.
I'm sorry, I'm on mute. Yeah. Hi everyone.
Oh yeah. And then Pavan, do you want to? You said what's you're over at AT&T now, right? What's your focus there?
Like I'm working as a DevOps engineer, like mainly like on automation of the scripts and automation of few of these OpenStack environment over here, and as well as CI/CD pipeline for application migration of applications from nodes to Docker containers and as well as Kubernetes. Most probably like migration of applications from to the Dockers and as well as Kubernetes. As of now, I'm working for the past 6 months.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, so Chaim, we've been happy to welcome Pavan into the fold here. He's been focused on just that, actually, some of the same things around pipelining and terraforming for the Meshery SaaS component, the component that just stores, anonymously stores test results so that people can do bandwidth speed tests. I guess I say it with a smile on my face because it sounds like internet bandwidth speed test, but I guess it literally is bandwidth speed tests on service meshes. So. Very good. Okay, let me jump in. I'll share the meeting minutes. I think you guys are all in there, but we'll. So before we get going, any topics that people want to call out before we talk about some things in general, and then we'll probably go around the room and give some updates.
Nothing minor.
Okay. Garish, anything in general that you wanted to, any other topics you wanted to bring up other than just your weekly update?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Nothing in particular, yeah.
All right, fair enough. Well, some things that I think some of us have paid attention to, and might be things that others haven't seen. But so this last Friday in San Francisco was Service Mesh Day. It was both sponsored by Tetrate, kind of hosted by Tetrate, a small service but probably well-to-do service mesh startup focused in and around Istio and Envoy. The conference is also sponsored by the CNCF. That's probably the last time that the conference will be independently sponsored from the Linux Foundation or from the CNCF, because I think it's going to be immediately inducted into the annals of the CNCF. So the CNCF will probably host it as going forward. Probably most of the time co-located to KubeCon, but maybe separately from that. We'll see. So Chaim is here. Octarine, like Linkerd, like Console Connect, were I think maybe to the contrary of what William Morgan of Buoyant believes, Linkerd was actually represented at the conference. So was Octarine, so was Console Connect, even though very briefly. And that was through a presentation of Meshery. And so the presentation is there in case you guys are interested in seeing what that looks like. Then we also did a presentation just this past Wednesday down at Innotech San Antonio. Small audience, but a very interested Jesse Butler of Oracle. He's a developer advocate there. He's very interested in the project, and he talked a little bit about their managed Istio on OCI, on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. They've actually written an internal utility for managing Istio a little bit, and they call it Mesh CTL, so S Mesh CTL, and it does a couple of things that I thought were interesting, at least to what he had described. It's not an open source utility. I think they're going to look to make it open source, and maybe they will bring that to Meshery. Actually, that would be fantastic. So Jesse, if you're watching, bring it to Meshery. That would be great. One of the things that I thought was neat was that it would go in and inspect various namespaces and look to see what was deployed on the mesh in that namespace and gather a little bit of data. I don't know that any of what it's doing is special sauce things, but just helpful to those who are administering Istio. Interesting. A couple other quick updates. So, so part of the project's goals here are to hopefully be, somewhat vendor and project agnostic, and really are aimed toward facilitating adoption in general. Hopefully, floating all of our boats, so to speak, all of those who are vested into Service Mesh Land. One of those is App Switch. So Dinesh of App Switch did send a message earlier or late last week, saying absolutely wants to be here and participate. He is, like others, tight on time. And so Chaim, I don't know if you had seen on Istio.io, the blog there, that Dinesh had posted an App Switch, like performance-related blog on Istio.
Don't recall. No.
Yeah, but it had been a little while ago, and put up some impressive stats. He was suggesting that maybe we just include those stats in the forthcoming Meshery presentations. to which I'll need to follow up with him, but kindly let him know that we won't. That we need to have an adapter there in order to achieve what we're really trying to achieve, which is much more of an apples to apples, as opposed to including whatever results he had tested in his own environment. But do hope and that we'll get to an app switch adapter soon. So something to be aware of, and if Pavan, actually, I don't know, this might be of interest to you. I'm not entirely sure quite what all of the requirements are, but Layer 5 IO, or rather, not Layer 5 IO, I'm sorry, the Meshery project is has been accepted into Google Summer of Code as a project that interns can come and contribute to. And as you're sharpening your software foo, you might want to look into this particular program, because this might be a way of getting some additional recognition for some of the work that you're already doing on this project.
Yeah, definitely, sure.
I mean, you're already here, and so I don't know. Again, I don't know if you've got to be in university or what, but yeah, go check it out. I had the submission deadline is coming up, and so I don't know how many have submitted for Meshery. Maybe none, but. So Chaim is here. We're gonna hear from him in a little bit. I just wanted to say also, since last we met, I did we've had a number of conversations with Buoyant and with Google, both of which strongly reaffirmed their desire to participate. We just need to give them a little more explicit direction on where we're. That specific direction, I think the easiest thing is it's probably in and around the benchmark spec. So Chaim, did we ever discuss the benchmark spec? Does that ring a bell?
We talked about it, I think, in very
Loose.
broad terms.
Okay.
We
And
didn't go into the details.
that's about how it is now. It's about as a little bit high level. Not a ton of time has been spent, but the as a reminder of what it is just it's just a spec file, just a YAML file that is intended to capture. So certainly Meshery itself is capturing test results, and that's great, but they're kind of meaningless unless you're also attaching details about the number of nodes that you had and how much memory and CPU they have, and then how much load you generated for how long of a period of time. Unless you capture all of that and associate it with results, you're gonna have a really hard time doing a comparison. And so we've been not that this is an industry standard in any respects, but just we've been hoping to get to something of an interoperable, or something of a format that can be exchanged around, so that when people say, how fast is your service mesh performing, they might be able to describe it in that spec. So looking towards that. So lastly, Chaim, actually, maybe a point of interest to you and Pavan, if you happen to be coming out to DockerCon in San Francisco in a little bit. I'm hosting a 2-hour session on service mesh in general. Meshery is, of the agenda that's been published, Meshery is on the agenda. It doesn't take 2 hours to go over Meshery. And so I've begun to solicit interest from the various parties involved in service mesh. And so food for thought I'm going to try to work up a bit of an agenda and send out for consideration. So.
Mm-hmm.
So on that, actually, Chaim, just to make it totally uncomfortable for you, we put your name first in terms of an update. So.
All right. So I started with pretty much copying things from the ECTR adapter to kind of see what's similar and what's different between what we have to do and what Girish did with Istio. So the things that are easily modified, that is already kind of done. Mostly the front end, so being able to defining the gRPC, getting the gRPC file, and defining the commands that can be done, specifically install and possibly vet. So I'm working now on which is the client, and actually getting the deployment done. Again, the plan is to have our data plane deployed, which means our what we need for identity bootstrapping and sidecar injection in deployed and connected to a predefined control plane, which we'll be hosting and using for this purpose. So that way, the actual deployment of Octarine in a cluster would be very, very lightweight. So I hope to get I hope to get my first push today once I get permission to actually push into the Octarine adapter repository. And then next week, I hope to get more things, more substantial things pushed into that have to do more with the actual instrumentation, the actual data plane.
Nice. Okay. Very good. Maybe before I forget the of the access for that. Oh, and by the way, Chaim, we're just like many other open source community meetings. We're recording this one, and so we'll post it on GitHub later. So we'll redact any of the secrets that you just told earlier. But
no secret.
But I do want to make sure that you're empowered and connected in the right way inside of GitHub. And so right now for that, so this is a beautiful thing actually, that I think a question that you raised earlier today, and that is and that is one of empowerment, of maintainership, and a sense of ownership around the adapter that you and your team are writing. If as you go to join that team, I can was part of what you were suggesting is maybe to reduce the write permissions to just that repo, or
so currently I have access to 7 repos, but not this one. Not Meshery up.
Okay, so we did it entirely the opposite of what we were trying to do. Okay.
Yes. So if you look at the teams and you look at, there is an Octarine maintainers group, have access to 7 repositories, but not Octarine, not Meshery Octarine.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So, at this point, that's the one I need access to, write access. Obviously, I have read access to all of them. But then if I have some contributions to the other repos, I think it's a pretty straightforward process to just ask for permission
Gotcha.
and be granted at that point. So
Okay.
that's just the only point I've made. And obviously, keeping the process of what gets pushed to master as using a PR process, that makes absolute sense.
Okay. Oh, very good. Okay. Well, we'll get that sorted away today. Two questions. So this will be the first adapter that of this genre, the adapter that will connect back to a managed control plane. I think we'll see that app mesh, as and when that one is written, will probably be of the same. And actually, if one is written for Aspen Mesh as well, that those would be probably of the same genre, which has the benefit of reducing the burden on the user to stand up infrastructure and do performance tests and do playground commands. But part of what is a benefit that users get about deploying to a local control plane is that they might have their application deployed, and so not that has to be facilitated, but I guess these two questions come to mind as you think about that having a small amount of infrastructure there that you'll allow people to go into and do performance tests on.
Sure. So the performance test happens in the data plane. It doesn't really.
Yeah. Right. So I guess I'm asking this in an inverted way. That's a good point.
So obviously, where the data plane will be deployed, any application can be deployed also to run performance tests while getting the same capability and everything we offer around security from the dashboard, the common dashboard that will be in the control plane.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. It's been. Did we end up, or did you end up giving consideration to a sample app?
We started thinking about it, but I think we'll do it in stages. First, we can get book info running so we can see that everything is working according to plan, and then once we get that running, we can think of maybe an application that may be more interesting in terms of performance testing.
Nice. Okay. Yep. And then for as we think about, I was just speaking with Girish a little bit earlier, and we're thinking about a little bit of documentation toward each of the adapters. Under this managed control plane, I assume will we need to facilitate for people authenticating and or creating accounts, or
so we'll try to get that under the hood as to get the adapter to handle that and provide the credentials, but I need to go a little deeper to make sure that that makes sense. The idea is that once you deploy a new data plane, you'll get credentials for the control plane that will correlate to that data plane.
Okay. Yeah, very good.
By the way, I will have to drop off in 5 minutes.
Okay. Very good. I think this any I don't know. I guess Girish, any questions for Chaim in this regard?
No. So Haim, just one tip is that. So earlier we had like the installation of Istio not working very accurately. So there were changes made to it like last week. I'm not sure if you did check the recent updates, but essentially there were some updates to the installation of the Istio itself and the book info app, the canonical one, last week. So
if it was last week, then I should have the latest one because I did most of the work this week.
Awesome. And the Istio wet, again, but again, this was changed beyond, more than a week back, where earlier it would deploy the Istio wet on the cluster and then run it and then stream the logs back. But last week, earlier last week, I made this change where Istio wet was rather run as part of the adapter. Now that actually gave me more control over how the data was coming back, so I could stream the events independently to the UI. So for which I had added support for gRPC streaming in the backend. again in the front end, I added service sent events, but yeah.
Okay. No
Okay.
problem.
Nice. Well, then, given that Haim only has a few more minutes, maybe Garish, if we go to your updates real quick, so that Haim can benefit from those.
Um, sure, but hilariously, like this week, I don't have much of updates with respect to the other components which people are working on or are developing. So this week, my focus was actually to migrate the backend store from Dynamo to Postgres because I mean, initially when we started, I wasn't sure, the way we would be fetching the results, but now, we actually have resorted to a tabular way of getting them. So pagination was actually one of the things, which was hit pretty hard. Pagination works now, way better with Postgres, and of course, so I also have some sorting and searching capabilities, which is very easy to add once which weren't easy with Dynamo because of the way the scan works in Dynamo. So that is essentially a quick update. I can actually share my screen. Lee, if you want to just give it one more try, try. If not, I can actually share my screen.
Okay. I think I might not be running Meshery locally, and so
Gotcha.
yeah, please do.
Cool. Sure, I can share my screen. Shouldn't take me much time. Okay, so I hope I'm sharing my screen one. Okay, let me know when you can see the screen. Okay, cool.
Let's see.
So yeah, I just created a branch for that migration. Now, last week, one of the other things we did was actually to create a CLI tool. Now it'll actually give you the commands if you just hit it. So start will actually essentially just does run the two containers now. We actually switched away from having a separate load generator. Now it's built into Meshery, so so that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you can see the screen, I'm just going to reload the page just to ensure that, okay, yeah, it's not needed. Just going to see if I can sign in again. Okay, voila. So now it's back, and then if you go to results, you can see, it has 16 results. So last week, it would show 3 results on one page, and then when I click next, it'll show 6 results on the next page, and it was totally whacked up. And also, all these tabular capabilities, have been streamlined, in the sense cleaned up, so now I can actually change the row numbers, and see that, which is kind of nice. And also, so now I have sorting here, but again, this column is not valuable because everything is istio. But here, this column, so by default, the data is actually ordered based on the time in the descending order, essentially logically. So these are the most recent results, and the older results go to the back. So the sorting works. Again, it's all server side. And again, we also have searching. So there were some tests which were targeted on localhost, and you can see it actually filters them. The reason why it's localhost is if you zoom in, you can see the URL is actually localhost. So we have filtering based on some of the fields. So those were some of the capabilities, or the benefits of switching to PostgreSQL, which we are enjoying now. The migration is all complete, in a sense, the data migration is all complete, and also the automation for bringing in new changes to the database are run every time, it's automatically happening. So this was predominantly yeah.
Sorry, I just have to drop off. Looks great, and I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah,
awesome. See you. Yeah, bye. Thank you.
Talk to you later, Haim. All right. Yeah, those that looks pretty nice. So each of those columns are sortable, right?
Not so at the moment, not all.
Oh.
So for example, you can see QPS, duration. These are not, but like I said, what I have now is a very initial version. Adding sorting to these is going to be probably another 20-30 minutes of my work. The reason why it's 20-30 minutes is not because of the coding that's required. It's mostly because I have to create a Docker container and then push it. And those are the things which are taking time. So, but yeah, essentially adding sorting to all the other columns is going to be a breeze.
Nice.
Yeah. Now the other thing is I'm leveraging PostgreSQL's JSON fields, like JSONB types. So again, the data is still stored the exact same way, pretty much, at least with the results part, are still stored as JSON in PostgreSQL, which is kind of a nice thing. So, I didn't have to do much changes. With very minimal changes, like, I was able to get the data in PostgreSQL, and yeah, all the features, like, are functional. So, very nice. So yeah, like, I mean, if you think, like, it's sensible to actually have sorting on all these columns, I sure can actually add them in.
And does that require, I mean, it requires a little bit of front end work, but also does it require indexing on the database?
That's correct, yes.
The, I could, Pavan, feel free to chime in. I mean, I guess I could see where people may want to, and maybe a bit more complex, they may want to lock in something like, I want to compare the highest number of the test results with the highest number of threads, all adjacent to one another. I want to sort on that column first. Secondarily, I want to sort on, either queries per second. Like, I want to get the most intense test that was done. So that's the one that has 100 threads and 100 QPS. And so that is slightly different than what we're talking about. But
they are related, but what you were talking about is like a much more complicated case, like, where we allow sorting on multiple columns
right
at the same time. Where, like, for example, now if I click start time and then click on QPS, the sorting on the start time would be preserved, and then comes the sorting on QPS and duration and threads, whatever. So that way, it's organized in that sequence. That's definitely a great thing. I'll have to look into it, because adding support for this in the back end is very easy. Now, adding support for that in the front end is going to be challenging, because I don't know if this tool, or, like, this library I'm using supports it. But yeah, definitely I'll look into it.
Or and not at a priority, but I could see even I don't know that there's very standard user experiences with that. Like, as a user, how you would expect to pin the first one and then sort by have a secondary.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One thing I could see people fairly commonly potentially wanting is the ability to export the data.
Right. Yes. So this library does have a capability to support that. The only thing is, like, I have not got to it, because for adding that support, we need to. I mean, my thinking was more towards, once we have the spec ready, then we can add this capability very easily, because here, I mean, like, there is a plugin I've actually had to disable it. So right now, like, if I enable it, like, you'll actually see a button right here to download the data. But then we just don't want to download. We just don't want to let them download the CSV or the JSON files, but rather data downloaded in sort of a spec format. Like, I think will actually be nicer. Was my perception. So, just the reason why I haven't got to it yet.
Yeah, and the way that data in that format is valuable is it's really probably most valuable if you're also able to import a result set, because it's then the display within this format that can be easily interpreted. You could probably imagine people making an argument for wanting the data in just a standard CSV format, so
right.
They can go. But I think that there is higher value maybe in the in being able to download a service mesh benchmark spec bundle.
Yep, absolutely, you're right. Sure. I mean, like, bringing in a importing capability shouldn't be hard at all. Like, we should be able to quickly add it in.
But and that almost sounds like there's a new industry acronym just waiting to be created there. There's the cloud native, the CNAB, Cloud Native Application Bundle.
Yeah, CNAB.io. Yes.
This would be the service. This would be the. Yeah, I don't. We have to think of something. Very good. Okay. So Pavan, just as you understand that the shift here from DynamoDB to Postgres,
Yes.
How disruptive is that for you?
Sorry, what did you say?
How disruptive is that change for your Terraform scripts?
Terraform scripts, like I can do it basically, to be honest with you, is like I work on Postgres, I never work on DynamoDB, so it's really, I believe that it's really easy to me for me to migrate to the Terraform if it is Postgres.
Yeah.
Again, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Pavan, actually another question for you. Let me share the screen again. I wanted to make sure that your efforts are being acknowledged. And so,
Okay. Um, well, like I try to keep my photo there, but I don't know like how to edit that, and so I just left it like instead of. My apologies for that. I should have uh, send that message to you. I try to change some photo over there, but like I don't know like how to change it,
I know.
so I just left it.
Okay, very good. I'll be honest. I cheated and did it in Microsoft PowerPoint, and then I converted from PowerPoint to Google Slides because PowerPoint has a convenient way of. So yeah, if you have a link to, or if you just send as an attachment, profile photo, I'll
Yeah,
be sure
sure.
to get you in there.
Definitely, I will do that.
Okay. Nice. But then I guess maybe so if we go back to your update.
Well, like I don't have much updates on this. Like I just want to have a quick request to you and Girish.
Yeah.
Just give me a work, like so that like I'll work on that instead of like I'll say that I'm good in like taking the work instead of like uh,
Yeah.
creating of my own. So it's good like if you guys give me the work and so that I'll try to complete that.
Yeah, very good. I hear that. That I totally. Well, let's take a moment and look at a couple of items and see if any of them jump out to you as being things that resonate that you might be able to. There's one that jumps that here's one to look at, and it's this notion that the project that we have, it's not necessarily reporting on if the last build was good or if we've got test cases that are being executed or passing. And I think there's a number of different code badge systems out there. There was, like as an example, there's a group called crossplane.io that Girish, I think it's kind of funny when we were talking about layer X earlier.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
this had struck me as these guys or this team rather is showing a number of things. It would be interesting to see how what our Slack stats are. How many people are following the Layer 5 on Twitter? Pavan, I don't know if that is of interest.
Actually, Lee, I would say before that, there is actually one thing I can probably put on Pawan, which is actually getting the logs from Meshery SaaS into a place like where we can actually see them live. Number one, number two is like also the ability to actually create alerts. Not sure like which free system we can pick. Probably like we can talk about that now. But I think that'll be a very interesting thing for Pawan to actually start with, given his
Sure.
given his DevOps capabilities. I think this will be a great thing to start with. I mean, the reason why I'm mentioning this is this will actually add very quick values, so we can actually start seeing results. And of course, like the build system and yes, like those are definitely the next big things. But yeah, like seeing and capturing logs and also alerting on them, at least like starting off with emails to all the people the channel, or at least like publishing or pushing alerts to a Slack channel like the Meshery Slack channel or something would be very helpful, because like for example, like last 2 weeks back or something, like you had some challenges with Meshery SaaS, it just turned out that it was an issue with your user and another user, because a UID was introduced into the system after you had logged into the system. So yeah, those kinds of things, we can probably avoid. And since this is an open source project, sometimes if people see an error, I think we already discussed this, they might not come back and report it. So I think this will actually eliminate those problems and help us keep the SaaS component sane.
Yeah. Let's get into specifics.
Yeah.
Okay, so hey, Pawan, do you know of any free systems which will help us with collecting logs, alerting? We don't have to process the logs for long, probably. Even if it is for a week, I think that'll be fantastic.
Voice system.
Garish, you're just beating around the bush, man.
Okay.
Do it.
So exactly, that's what I was looking at. Paper Trail. Yep, I just had that up as well. So Paper Trail has for $0. They would keep the log for 48 hours and archive it for 7 days. Lee, can you go to the pricing tab? Pricing, yeah. Exactly. So the center one there, no credit card required, never expires. 16 GB first month bonus, then 50 MB a month. 50 MB a month is kind of the hard part. I'm pretty damn sure that we'll have more logs than 50 MB.
Yeah, but then they'll just roll over, right? That I believe, right?
I really hope so, because we don't want it to be capped, in a sense. Yeah, you already have sent 15 MB for this month, so I'm just going to stop receiving logs.
Oh, right.
I really hope so. Yeah. And that's a question which we can probably get answers for very quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Pavan, have you ever used? Yeah. So if we were to use this, we can certainly get an account created very quickly and get credentials over to you, Pavan, so you can.
Okay.
the only thing you'll have to do is configure syslog on the Docker host to send logs, because Papertrail receives logs from syslog. I mean, it's a very simple thing. That's one way. Or there is a I'm sorry, there is a Docker plugin.
Yeah. It's just,
I'm sorry that I'm just laughing on it, but yeah, there is a Docker plugin for Papertrail. So if we want to use that, we sure can. Either works. Pawan, whatever you're comfortable, but if we can also automate this, that'll be the best thing.
Okay. Let me look into that, and then I'll get back to you.
Awesome. You feel free to reach out to me anytime. I think I pretty much have all the background knowledge there for all these things. So let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
So I guess to if we do go, so Pavan, if this path doesn't work out, that's fine. If we're going to go down this one, we'll go ahead and get some credentials created right now and send to you, and then that way, what you would end up doing is that way we could share those credentials amongst the maintainers, and then there's a couple of ways to direct syslogs to Papertrail. Papertrail as a product just opens up a public-facing port that will begin to receive. You can just point syslogs to, and so the configuration of having Docker send logs to it, you can do it in a couple of different ways, both of which are relatively relatively easy.
Lee, I just sent you something. Can you just open that up? I wanted to check this one quite a while back. Now I just checked the pricing. It seems to be much more interesting. See the right one there, which says daily capacity 3 gigs. It's free forever. 3-day retention, which is perfect. L dashboards, 5-minute setup. Yeah.
Yeah. What is it for Loggly? I don't
It's
think.
not. It's 14-day trial. I just checked.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was my next go-to.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, but they do have a light version. Just
Oh, wait a second. Uh-oh. Community version, actually. Oh, okay. That's fine. So I wonder,
it's a trial for Pro.
but
So Logly has a light version, which is 200 MB a day, which is equivalent to 6 gigs a month, retention 7 days, one user. That looks like that might be free. So this is 3 gigs. This one is 6 gigs. Oh, but though that's a daily capacity of 3 gigs. Gotcha.
yeah. So if this, as long as if community has alerts, yeah, 50 alerts again.
Cool. Logly is not giving any alerting for the free version.
And so I guess just the quick comparison then is Paper Trail, because it does do. The question for Paper Trail is, does it begin to rotate?
Right. 50 MB. Does it click and rotate? Yes. That's something which we sure can actually acquire. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's funny because I don't even know what this is. This is funny. Where are the Paper Trail docs? Tour product. And by the way, this wouldn't be to use CloudWatch logs, right? Or
No, exactly not. I mean, CloudWatch there's a cost associated with it, which is the reason why I would prefer not to opt for CloudWatch.
mm-hmm.
This is more like directly streaming it from our container, essentially.
Okay. So Pavan, we'll get a, unless you have an opinion, we'll get a quick answer as to which of those 2 or 3, or maybe are the best for the use case. But from there, does that ask make sense? Girish, can we get specific on what we want to alert on?
Sure. I mean, the first simplest thing would be look for errors. I mean, I do log errors as much as I can. So anytime there is an error, error in these log message, I think that'll be a good start to log. Sorry, to alert.
And so
only the error message has to go to that paper trail.
No. I mean, so the way it works is any whether it is Paper Trail, whether it's Logly or the other one which I just showed, or whether which Lee actually shared. So the way it'll be is all the logs will be sent to that system. Now in that system you'll go in and configure alerting. So alerting will be more so it'll say, hey, okay, I want to alert on so, and then it'll give you this capability where you want to enter a phrase or a word you want to search for in the log messages. So anytime a log message comes with a word, for example, error, it'll actually send out send out a notification. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it'll also do some stats on it.
So let's say high CP utilization or high utilization error or whatever it's kind of if we search over there, it has to display.
Yeah, I mean, this is log, so any message with the word error would actually be a sensible start. This is kind of what I was trying to say.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. But I mean, Pawan, feel free to ask more questions to me, and I'll definitely be very happy to actually help you, and let's get this set up.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great thing.
Okay, very good. All right, I'm just reaching out to the Paper Trail team to ask them those questions.
Very good.
And so Pavan will so Docker logging is Docker logging and alerting on error. Now the issue about alerting on error, I think, is that a couple of things like, hey, where to alert to, and that sounds like Slack is where we want to alert.
Right. Yeah. That'll be fantastic. Not sure if we want emails, but yeah, sure. Slack is
okay.
good. Good start.
Okay, yeah, maybe a good start. Yeah, in part just because if we look at like an example of, I'm running Meshery here, I did get some alerts. some errors, and this was where I was having difficulty authenticating, and so, we probably wouldn't want to get emails, I'm guessing, on this, unless, was this a user error, Garish, or was this?
Yeah. Any error, that'll be sent out, either it's a Docker error or, application error messages.
Okay.
Will actually getting alerted on those, would be very helpful to start with.
Okay. So the paper trail team is saying that it's the 50 megabyte per month limit is a hard cap for that month, and then
Exactly.
it resets to 0 once per month.
Gotcha. So yeah, I think I was right. Yeah, so it's going to cap it right at 50 megs, and it's not going to receive any more messages, which is bad.
Yeah.
I think Logsy might actually be a better one then. And they also even have 50 alerts, which is phenomenal. So do we want to nail down on this one?
Yep. Let's do it. So Pavan, we'll get you an account there. That's and Pavan, if you want to, to create an issue on this. Very good. And then Pavan, of the other one that I described around the badges, did that make sense as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, nice. Okay. And Pavan, the other thing that's going to be coming up is as we go to share at a couple of different conferences, is people are very interested in results. And so, yeah, it would be good for you to try running Meshery as a user and actually going through the deployment, the user instructions, and seeing if we need to update those or not. Right now, it should be the case that if you're running Docker for desktop on your laptop, or if you have access to a Kubernetes cluster, and it can just be Docker for Docker for desktop, as long as you give Meshery access to a Kubernetes cluster, Meshery the Istio adapter for Meshery is capable of deploying Istio and capable of deploying the Book Info app, the sample app. And then it's capable of running load tests and gathering the results and sharing them. And so my point is, as long as you're able to, point it at a Kubernetes cluster, you can start doing some testing as well. And it would be interesting to begin to have some tests coming in from different places to be able to look at some of their averages.
Sure.
Anyway, also Pavan, the other action item for you is your mugshot, so we can tell people. Oh, and if you have, I think you did send over your Twitter account at some point, right? If you've got that, yeah, very good. Or if you have a different social, if you prefer like LinkedIn or something, GitHub or whatever else, we can use whatever link you want to use.